Hey guys, UC here from iTradePrice. Let us review our weekly charts. So you can see I put my camera on today. See my pretty face. Okay, QQQ monthly view. So from the monthly perspective, this was the big resistance, right? 372.9, 373. So we did make a move during the month of July. We broke out of that, but now we're almost last week of July is left, and we have a little bit of top wick. So it could be that it's still a higher high, higher low, but some pressure definitely coming in. So we saw that last week as well. So from that perspective, yes, market is weak, but overall trend in a weekly time frame remains okay, right? We did see red weeks in the recent history, and none of them saw a downside follow through. So that tells us that every time we saw a dip, buyers saw it as an opportunity to get long and push the price higher. So this was a big resistance, right? 372.9. That's where we saw a couple of weeks ago the breakout. We saw a nice little bit of follow through, but we couldn't really close strong, but still not bad. We're still above the midpoint of this bullish bar. So that's that in itself is just sort of a keeps the structure intact. And now we really like setups like where if you look towards the left of this breakout bar, right? This was our breakout bar. If you look at towards the left, the high point is right here. And usually the price sometimes kind of likes to touch this one, retest this, and then gives us a bounce. So that will be a setup that I will be looking for, a retest bounce. And if I go into a daily time frame, that could be good, right? Because this is the uptrend line as well, right? Starting from here, this is an uptrend line. This is a gap fill move, right? This was the gap right here, so this will be a gap fill move. This will be also the this was the high point that we were looking at, right? So that's the high point. So yeah, multiple reasons to take the long setup trade right here on 372.9, right? If that one breaks, does not hold, we have a gap fill all the way to 368. I think if I bring the other levels, okay, I don't know if I can bring that right now, but yeah, but you probably know it would be there. Let me see. Yeah, there you go. So if I bring those level right here, yeah, we got a gap fill at 372.8 as well. And then if we break down below that, we have a gap fill support level around 368.6, right? To lean bullish, if we don't see the move towards the downside, I would say let's go ahead and do an hourly view. Let me look at that. Yeah, so here it is, right? This is the downtrend line, the mini down channel or downtrend lines, right? So we really need to get above this clutter zone right here from Friday, because every time we were seeing a bounce on Friday, we kept on selling off from there. So we really need to get above this downtrend line, make a move above 378, and to reverse the structure, really need to move above 379.9, right? Because that's sort of the, you can say, was the support level before it gave up, right? This was the support right here. We saw the bounce. This was the support level. And then once we broke down, we retested that level. Nice short there to come down, right? So that means this whole 379.9 or 380 is the level to kind of be cautious from to the long side, right? So unless or until we can get a daily close above that, the preference remains short on strength. And if we do see a move above 377.3, yes, you can take a long towards 379.9, but then you gotta have to manage accordingly and see if you break above that or not. Okay. SPY, let's take a look at quickly on a monthly view. Monthly chart looks nice, right? We are nicely making our way towards this whole 460 level. Didn't really get up to that this previous week, but it tried. So from that perspective, higher high, higher low is in place. That's fine. Weekly chart is at the top end of its channel's trend line. So we do have a little bit of top wick right there, but in terms of the trend, that is still intact, nothing broken, still fine. From daily perspective, is struggling here, right? Since the past few days, right? We saw a breakout of this 451 level, right? We spent 2 days here. We saw a breakout, very weak follow through, and then 2 days of sideways action where we would open up strong, but then we will sell off, right? So some selling here, some weakness here or under pressure, right? So giving up, I would say 450 psychological is something that bulls do not want to see, right? If we break that down, then this up trend line is in play for a move towards that. You know, it could be a quick flush because the volume on the sell side has increased in the past few sessions. So we'll see how that goes. But losing 450 is it's kind of weakness. Okay. Apple still again higher time frame. Really the uptrend is intact, but this top wick on a weekly level is a little bit concerning, right? Yes, it is higher high, higher low from that perspective, but if you kind of just look at it from the perspective of you know, just collective bars, right? This was the highest close, right, which was 4 weeks ago, and since then we have not seen a close above that level since the past 3 weeks, right? This was closed down, this moved up, but really couldn't close above that. So this 194, 195 is our sort of a level below which we have to be cautious on the long side. Okay, and if you want to take a long, sort of a swing long type kind of a thing with earnings coming up, of course anything can happen, you never know, but this is definitely a good, you know, first touch bounce kind of a play where if you see a move down, right, and it does not, this gap fill does not hold, then definitely below 190s can be a little bit of first touch bounce. And then if it breaks that down, this is where the support was, the resistance was, and then once we got above that, it became support right there. So then that could be the level to target on the downside. Okay, Amazon. Let's check a monthly view quickly. Monthly view looks fine, and from the monthly perspective, the resistance really does not come into, I mean, if we get above this 136, 146 is our level. I'm still thinking we do get there, but with earnings on the horizon, you never know what will happen. Weekly view looks fine. Yes, last week was a little bit of weakness, but it didn't really break down, right? So I mean, as long as it's above 128.4 in the weekly time frame, because that was the resistance on the way up, you know, and then it became support. As you can see, we kept on bouncing from this with bottom wicks, right? So we did touch that level and kind of held on to it for now. If you break that down, definitely 123.5 is your level to target on the downside. If we drill to daily view, I think we can, yeah, just kind of retested this trend line that it broke above. So could be that if we see a nice bounce back above 131.5, because that has been the level for a longest time that this chart was kind of struggling. Once we got above that, we saw a nice retest, bounce, and then we gave up. So again, this 131.5 is my sort of a reference point. If we remain below that, chart is under pressure. Once we are above that, definitely it can squeeze the short sellers and give us a little bit of rally. Tesla, let's check out a weekly view. So higher time frame, right? That's where the resistance was, and as expected, right here we saw a nice bearish engulfing bar, right? It kind of ate up 2 weeks worth of price action, right? This previous 2 weeks is just kind of an outside bar, right? So earnings came through and then it just kind of sold off after that. So now I think from a trade perspective, 240-ish, 241 is our support level, because that's the recent swing low. So that becomes your natural downside target if it gets below this previous week's low, as that's the first initial downside target. Okay, if you want to play on the upside, I don't know, really need to give us some bullish bars, some price acceptance above 265. Right, I kept on saying last week that if it gets below 265, it's weak, right? And we saw a close below that 2 days in a row. So that means the price is weak, and if unless or until we get above that, a daily close above that, which will show that we're not getting any downside follow through to this weakness, sure, we can kind of try to target prices above, right? But for as long as that does not happen, I think from chart perspective, at least this looks like it wants to go lower to 241. Okay. Google weekly chart is okay so far, right? I mean, if I zoom out, you can see it looks fine. It's just sort of making maybe a higher time frame inverse head and shoulder. So I would really like it to hold this 116, 115 area, right? And then start, breaking above 126.5 eventually to target 143, right? That's the sort of the anticipation I'm looking for this one to play out, right? But in case this does not happen, so first clue for me would be that if it closes back under 116, that means it's losing that sort of a scenario or that strength, right? So far, okay, from a weekly perspective, yes, it's giving everybody maybe a chance to get back in. Let's take a look at monthly quickly. So from monthly perspective, again, it's fine, no big breakdown, and I think we'll be closing this month's bar after 1 week. So if it closes like this, not bad, it's still okay. Daily view, yes, I would have liked it to stay above 122, did not do that, but in the short term that can be volatile. So we'll see. It was an inside day on Friday, so if I don't see any downside follow through, that means it's nice and it's holding, right? But from trade perspective, 116 is your bounce area. We have already seen multiple bounces from there, right? 1, 2, so that could be your trade setup as well. We have earnings, so who knows, we kiss that area, earnings come up, and then we see the move back up, right? But really wanted to see hold this 116 altogether. So here is NVIDIA. I think if I draw a trend line from this one, still okay from that perspective. So it's just a trend line retest, and I think one of the members on the platform did mention that this could be a good area for a test bounce, because we got right here, this was the breakout point right here, so we're retesting that breakout point and this uptrend line, right? So there are multiple ways you can play that. Some people like to see a confirmation where you get some sort of a doji bar with a bottom wick, and then you take a long against the low of that bar, right? Or somebody could just take a first touch, first touch of this uptrend line as a long opportunity, and maybe put a stop loss under this bullish bar right here, right? So you get long right here and put your stop loss below this one, because this one was a breakout bar as well that broke out above this clutter zone, right? So that could be a natural place for you to put your stop loss, because if it gets below that, then of course the structure goes weak. But that's how you kind of think strategically. Okay. All right, let's take a look at Netflix. After earnings got sold off, but still overall, I mean, from weekly perspective, it was kind of expected, right? I mean, this was a bull flag, but again, with earnings, it just throws everything off. So, but again, the chart has not really broken down. I mean, let's take a look at monthly. So I would say if you really want to look for a swing, maybe wait for 407, 408, 410, that kind of price point if you want to swing this name, because that would be a nice area, and it would also be a lower end of this potential bull flag, something like this right here, right? So let's look for that kind of price action to play out, because right now it's just a top wicks, so maybe some downside pressure, and I don't mind it trading towards 400, again 408. That would be the area for me to kind of try to swing this name. Okay, again, intraday definitely can play differently, all of that, but yeah, I mean, I just wanted to be trading towards 415 and lower, maybe this gap fill. So multiple reasons for you to get long around that time, around that price point. Okay, all right, let's take a look at Microsoft weekly view. Looks all right. We had this whole crazy move off of the AI news. We had this consolidation going on for like ever, right? And we saw breakout, failure so far, right? Above 351, 352. So let's see if it wants to kind of crawl back up and then break down again. But on a lower time frame from trade perspective, right? This is your target zone on the weakness. And then of course a first touch bounce could be in play as well, because if I bring the levels, if I bring the levels, you can see this is a gap fill area as well, right? If we trade towards the weak side, right, this would be a gap fill, this would be a gap fill. So multiple reasons for us to get long. I mean, at least try a long trade right here between 337, 333, right? This $4 could be a nice bounce area as well. But again, with earnings coming up, things can get tricky. But from chart perspective, that is the setup. Okay. On the upside, I would say really need to get above 350, 352, right? Because there's this weakness that it looks like it's been just, kind of following this mini down trend line, unless or until we can get above this downtrend line, close above 350, 351 in a 4-hourly time frame, or even actually 353, right? Just to be on the safe side, and then look for a pullback to play back towards 367. There's multiple scenarios that you can kind of play it accordingly. Okay, we already got Tesla, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Meta, and let's take a look at one more. Meta. All right, here is Meta weekly view. Again, earnings probably coming up soon on this one as well, right? But from chart perspective, right, this was the resistance zone, 291, 291.7, right? Multiple attempts, and once we got above that, we have some bottom wicks right there. So we closed weak this previous week with the top wick, but managed to still hold 291.7 on a closing basis. If you break down below that, the level to target would be 275, 276, because that's where we had multiple touch points when it was coming up as resistance, and then it became support right here, you can see. So that can be your target. Again, with earnings season, things can be different and wacky, but from chart perspective, from pure price action perspective, these are the levels to target if you're trading actively. Okay, very quickly we can take a look at CVNA as well. So I know a few of us like to trade this name actively. So here is the gap fill, 39.8. If it moves down, right, that's where your sort of area. This was the resistance. Once we saw a gap up, again, that could be a first touch bounce. A lot of people like to play gaps, so you can have a crowd behind you if you're trading that name, right? 36.1 can be a stop loss, or you can add there for a nice bounce, because that's where we have multiple touch points. Okay, so that's quickly CVNA. Let's take a look at ABBV. Okay, this one already played out, so it's nice, but we're getting close to its resistance, so definitely trim some if you have not, and see if it wants to break above 145 or not. If it moves back down, 130, 140 all the way till 138 could be a retest of the breakout area, and could be a long play there. Again, keep in mind earnings coming up. MMM, we're at the downtrend line in the higher time frame, so we really need to get above that. Earnings could be the catalyst that gets us above 107.4, because we have multiple touch points there as support first, right, and then it turned into resistance right here. So again, your upside target, this could be your first touch where you trim if you have not already trimmed. Okay, ITSE, let's check out this last one. ITSE, let's get into a lower time frame, maybe an hourly time frame. Zoom out a little bit. There you go. Actually, let's do a 4-hour, just a better view. Okay, so yeah, it couldn't really close above this level, right? It did manage to get above that, so definitely a whole lot of people took profit, but look at the way it stopped, 102.1, which was the level here. If it gets above that, 105 is our target level. We have quite a few touch points there. On the downside, really need some gap fill towards 94. Could be your play, right? That's where it could get back above, because that's where we saw a gap. So from that perspective, but from structure perspective, I think as long as it's above 90, things look okay, you know, because could be a sort of a double bottom right here, with this one being a right shoulder, and this becomes your, you know, neckline, and then a break higher. All right, guys. Hope you guys have a good rest of your weekend. If you have any questions, feedback, things like that, let me know. Take care.